What's up, guys? So today I want to talk about the future of 704 and NASCAR game development. First, I'm going to touch a little bit on NASCAR Heat 5. This video isn't really going to be about that. I want to talk more about further down the line with the next gen consoles and what's coming in the future, or at least what I hope. But I got to talk about NASCAR Heat 5 quickly and just to get that out the way. And the reason is, honestly, I'm not expecting a lot from NASCAR Heat 5. We are not going to see the level of improvement that we've seen with the past couple of games with Heat 5 for several reasons. First and foremost, there's a lot of change happening at the company at 704. A lot of the people that were there are now gone. They are hiring people. We don't know what their goal is in terms of personnel, how many people they want, at which positions, how many people have they filled. How many positions they filled, how many they're still looking to fill. We don't know any of this stuff. So they're in the point is they're in heavy transition. A lot of big changes happening. It's difficult to really get a lot done while you're also trying to get your company to where you want it to be. Also, so that has kind of delayed things a little bit. Also, they're looking to release NASCAR Heat 5 sooner. When, we don't know. But it's not going to come out in September, which is good. I think that the release cycle of these games has been way off. So it's good that it's coming out sooner, but that also means less time to develop the game. In addition to all these changes in the company, there's a lot happening. So honestly, if you're expecting the same level of improvements this year, I think that you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And personally, I'm okay. I've already accepted that NASCAR Heat 5, for the most part, is going to be a placeholder until the next gen. With all the changes, they are looking to put their own stamp on this franchise. So Monster Games is no longer there. They're not developing the game. This is going to be in-house. Most of you guys already know this. The only thing that I know, or at least have felt secure about NASCAR Heat 5, is they did mention that the stats are going to be deeper and better broken down. So I'm hoping that it's just a lot. It plays a bigger part of the career mode in terms of, like, right now, the way that the stats are, they're kind of hidden. Not hidden, but you got to go look for them. They're not done well. It's poorly done. So they did mention that. So that's one change I'm expecting to see. But I wouldn't call these things big features, or I don't expect a lot. So I think NASCAR Heat 5 is going to be more or less NASCAR Heat 4 with updated rosters and paint schemes and a few tweaks here and there. They did mention they want to bring testing. That's great. I'm happy. But again, that's not a big feature. It's basically practice without the AI. How hard could that be? In either case, it's long overdue. So these are just a couple of small things that I would expect to see. They've already confirmed there's not going to be a paint booth. So once again, this next game, no paint booth. I'm not expecting a lot. That doesn't mean they can't go into the current customization and add more templates and more options for coloring, maybe the wheels and all these other things, or add a few more templates for like the fire suits, things like that. They can do something there. I could see that happening. I don't think it's that difficult, but I wouldn't expect more than that. So you're not going to get the ability to hire drivers and all this other stuff. It's going to be a lot like NASCAR Heat 4. So I'm just telling people don't expect a lot. I think that's pretty much they're going to just release this and then hopefully start right away on the next gen. So talking about next gen, we know that these next gen consoles are going to be really powerful. Okay, so I know the Xbox Series X is confirmed, not confirmed, but it's going to be 12 teraflops. And from the rumor mill, the PS5 is going to be maybe 3 teraflops less. We don't really know yet. They might surprise people. They haven't really made a confirmation of the specs. But the bottom line is, regardless, even in the worst case scenario, it's a 9 teraflop machine. The teraflops is not going to tell the full story. And from all the rumors, or at least the talk from game developers who have already worked with the PS5, the word is that it's an extremely powerful console. Everybody's impressed with it. So even if getting away from the teraflop discussion, I don't think it's going to make as big a difference as people think. In either case, it doesn't matter. Whether it's PlayStation or Xbox, they're both going to be very powerful, which is good news. Also, when it comes to NASCAR games, there's not going to be any more excuses. There's not going to be, hey, they can't do these things on a console, things that we've heard people say for years now, right? So there's no excuse. The biggest thing I'm expecting in terms of NASCAR games, I'm expecting a much higher frame rate. Okay, goodbye to 30 frames per second. It's going to be a minimum of 60. It has to be. Pretty much every game is looking at pushing frame rates. They're talking upwards of 120 FPS. The more the better, especially when it comes to race games. You want higher frame rates. So I'm expecting a lot in that department. Obviously, I'm expecting the game to look a lot better. These NASCAR games have all been outdated, to be honest. They just haven't even matched what other people are doing with current gen. So we can't have these things anymore. They have to come out the box really impressing people with visuals, with performance, the frame rates. So that's first and foremost what I'm expecting. They have to release a game that's fully fleshed out. You cannot have another game that is lacking basic features, and that includes presentation and a narrative, the type of things we've seen for many years with other sports games. We can't keep having that. So when you come out the box with a next gen console title, that thing has to check off all those boxes. It's got to be a fully fleshed out game. You want the ability to hire drivers in the career mode as an owner. It's got to be way deeper, way more immersive. Pre-race, post-race, commentary, commercial endorsements, interviews, and a narrative. Let's include the crew chief into that narrative, right? Your relationship with the crew chief as a driver / owner, whatever the case, that could be your narrative. And even in real life, the relationship with a driver and a crew chief is very big. It's a big deal, and these games should reflect that. Also, I've talked about this for many years. I want to see I've called it an automatic crew chief. Call it whatever you want, but a crew chief that can actively help you set up the race car. So we're going to have test sessions and all this stuff. That has to play a bigger role in the career mode. And most people that play these games don't know how to set up a race car. Most people get their setups from other people, And, you might know a little bit. I know very little. Like, I wouldn't compare myself to people who really know this stuff. And I think it's disconnecting for players. When you play these games, you don't want that disconnect. You want to be involved. You want the crew chief to guide you through the setup process, through your career. We've already seen this in the Project Cars games. There's an engineer, and you answer a couple of questions, and he helps you adjust the race car. And it works pretty well. It's just not that deep. You can do this in a NASCAR game. I think that would be a huge game changer. And I think it immerses the player more. It makes you feel like you're a part of improving this race car through the weekend. That's huge. And I don't think getting a setup from other people online, it's nothing like being an active part of coming up with your own setup and being guided through it in your career and having that interaction with a crew chief. You can do this. And I would really push towards that. That to me would be a huge feature in these games. And you can have it where you're sitting in the cockpit in the garage with a tablet on, resting against your steering wheel. And that tablet can have the map of the track that you're at, whatever track. And each track is divided into sections. So you can have turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, entry, exit, center, and you can answer certain questions. You could say the car's really loose on entry, tight on exit, or tight in the middle on center. The car's loose on exit of turn 3. And you could click on these spots on the map and answer specific questions. And the crew chief can have that interaction and have an answer for certain things and say, okay, let's change the right front spring to this. This should help tighten the car on exit or whatever. I'm just giving you an example. How awesome would that be? And you really feel like you're a part of the whole process. A lot of these real life NASCAR drivers don't have a fucking clue about the engineering of these cars either. They complain about the car, they explain what's happening, and the crew chief decides what to do. So this would be a very realistic approach, and I think it would be a big deal because people would want to spend time now testing. And that sense of accomplishment that's missing from these games, imagine how much better you would feel that you worked on the car and made the car better, and see what kind of results you can get on the in the actual race, and even tinker with the idea of when you're pitting during a race, and maybe you could the crew chief can somehow have an interaction with you and make adjustments for you. Or you can have the option to not have the crew chief directly involved, right? This can be an option. So this is what I want to see in terms of innovation. And, it's 2020. The next gen consoles are coming. They got to start pushing this stuff. We can't just keep begging for basic features and, not get anything innovative. So I really would love to see that. I think that would be huge for people. Obviously, for next gen, we gotta have a paint booth, or at least you can call it a paint booth, what you have now, but go super deep with it. We should have so many fucking templates that you can't even remember them. More sponsors. If possible, phony sponsorship. Obviously, I want to see more with the fire suits and include customizable helmets. Now, right now, you have the ability to customize fire suits, but you don't really see it in the game because there's no presentation. The only time you see it is when the driver's in in victory lane or leaning up against the car or in the garage. Like, those quick little sections. But if you have some really deep presentation in the game, that stuff will come into play. So I know there's a lot of people out there that say, "Who cares? No, you don't even see this stuff during the game." Well, that's the point. If there's more presentation and a much deeper level of presentation in the game, these things will matter. Imagine having commercial endorsements where you're in the commercial and you're wearing that customized fire suit that you made. That would be awesome. So those are some things I'd love to see. Definitely a much deeper, more immersive, better broken down stat compilation, and those stats should constantly play a role in the presentation. So if during the pre-race, when the announcers are talking about you, where you're starting in the race, where you are in the point standings, these stats can come into play. If you win, 50 races in your career, the announcers should talk about that. They should say, "Hey, he just won his 50th race. He passed so and so, and Cale Yarborough, in his career." There's so much you can talk about in terms of pre-race and post-race commentary. Have interactions in the pits. Have interactions post-race with other drivers. There's so much you can do. And I'm just sick and tired of every year talking about this stuff, and it just never happens because these games are so outdated. They're so far behind. It's time to really push forward. So this is what I want to see in the next generation. There's more stuff that I've talked about in the past that it still fits here. One more thing, speaking of next gen, we gotta have, in terms of online racing. So those of you who think I don't care at all about online, have a template where you can create your own league. So let's say Disco Inferno wants to create his own league. I call it, let's say, Tuesday Night Classics League. So Tuesday night, that's when the league's going to run. That you have a template where you can fill it out. How many laps these races are, how many races in the season, which races, customizable, all the options you check off, if you want custom setups or not. And most importantly, fully supported by stats. Stats are a big fucking deal. You want to be in a league where after 5 or 6 races, you can keep track of who's where. And those stats are always there. And you know what place you're in the point standings. How many wins you have. How many top 5s. How many laps led. Imagine you have a league full of people, 20, 25, up to even 40 people, right? And everybody's got their stats, and everybody can see where everybody's at. And, these leagues can run according to real world times, right? So let's say Tuesday Night Classics is going to be Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going, you have to sign in by that time. If you're not there, you get a DNF, right? So everybody knows when the races are. You show up, and then you can show up to an hour early if you want. You can practice, you can test, you can do whatever, and then boom, 8 o'clock, it loads right into the race, and the race starts. And I think that would add so much to the online. And you have these custom leagues that people can run, and I guarantee you people will love it. It's more organized. Also, you gotta have a way to flag people, whether it's in a league race or it's just online regular lobbies. You should be able to flag anybody, and you flag that person, and it don't matter when you log into the game. That person stays flagged unless you unflag them for whatever reason. But you flag someone, that means when you host any lobby, they cannot join your race, even if it's a month later. This way, you can try to weed out trolls or people that you don't want to race with. Also, if you flag people and you're joining a lobby, some random lobby, you know before you even go into that lobby if there are people in there that you've already flagged. So you'll see that lobby has a flag on it, a red flag. You know, enter at your own risk. There's people there that you've flagged. So at least you have a system of trying to weed out these people. It's not a solution. It's not going to get rid of all the problems, but it's a start. So anyhow, there are more ideas, but really for me the most important thing is that the next gen consoles have a proper game that's fully fleshed out. That means you got the 3 series. I'm going to say something. I know a lot of people, I see this everywhere, asking for another Dirt series or some modified, some other thing. This is not the problem with these games. And I'm not against it, adding more leagues or more, I should say, more series. But that is something to me that can wait down the line. Let's get that first game has to have the 3 main series: Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup series. That's all you need. Remember, they have to build that first game from scratch. They're going to have a new game engine. They have to build all the tracks and all the assets from scratch. So the first game's going to be the hardest. As far as innovation goes, down the line, I'd love to see VR support. Okay? There's no reason you shouldn't have VR support for a race game like a NASCAR game. So that is something I want to see down the line at some point. Also, face scanning for your customization. Face scanning has been around for some time now, and that would be awesome in your career mode throughout the game to see your custom created character. It has your face. It works. I know because I've played, anyone who's played the NBA 2K series knows about face scanning. And by the way, NBA Live also does it from EA. So face scanning has been done for years now, and I'd love to see that in a NASCAR game. So throughout your career, through the presentation, pre-race, post-race, throughout your career, commercial, whatever, you see your character, and it's you. So in terms of innovation, we got to start pushing. So VR support, face scanning. I want to see more options when it comes to the cockpit camera. Something where you can adjust it so that you're not stuck with only that one cockpit mode. A lot of people don't like it because it's not perfect to their, I guess it's not set up right perfectly. You see other race games, you can adjust the cockpit. You can move the windshield closer to you or further. There's options there. So this game desperately needs that. For now, that's pretty much it. But I think it's important to talk about this stuff now because NASCAR Heat 5 is slated to come out sooner. So they're going to start working on that next game. Who knows when? Maybe they already have certain plans on, But here's the most important thing. And I hope 704 is listening. You cannot release another bare bones game and then just expect people to accept it because it's the first game and it's like, okay, this is just the first game. Now, hopefully, with each game, we're going to add the things that you want. You can't do that again. We went through it with Eutechnics. We went through it with the first 704 game, Heat Evolution. Completely bare bones demo. That's what it was. So you can't do that again. It's vital that whenever you release that game, it is fully fleshed out. I don't want to be talking about that there's no presentation, that there's nothing, that the career mode is lifeless. There's nothing going on. You want to have it crammed with details, with presentation, with a narrative, just like other sports games. And if that means that you have to delay the game, then so be it. I would rather that you delay the game. Don't put the game out until it's ready, till it's something you can be proud of, because it's important. If you release another Evolution type game, you're going to lose a lot of people. They're going to say, here we go again, I'm done. So that's not good. So you want to put as much development time and resources into the game as possible. That next gen first game has to be really good. So those are my thoughts. I know people have a lot more ideas. Feel free to put them in the comment section. I'm putting the video out now. It's really early to talk about a next gen NASCAR game, but I don't know when they're actually going to sit and actually begin work on the next gen game. I don't know. We don't really know what's going on with 704. NASCAR Heat 5 is not even out yet. But like I said, I'm not expecting much. I think NASCAR Heat 5 is just going to be one of those, we're putting it out there. We're going to make a few tweaks here and there, and we're moving on to next gen. And honestly, that's going to disappoint people, but I think it's necessary. Because of all the changes going on at the company, they don't really have a choice. At some point, they have to make a decision and say, we got to start on the next gen. We're building the game from scratch. We need to get focused on that so that the game is everything that we need it to be. NASCAR Heat 5, unfortunately, I think is going to be a mulligan. I could be wrong. I might be surprised about some of the things they add to it, but I wouldn't expect much. And I think that from what I hear, they're doing the right thing. They got to get the company where it needs to be. They got to hire the right people, and they got to start thinking about next gen. I think that 704 has done a commendable job to get it to where NASCAR Heat 4 is. I've given them credit, and I think NASCAR Heat 5 will be a serviceable game. I don't think it's going to be a terrible game or anything. I just don't think it's going to be that much more than NASCAR Heat 4. And that's okay. I think that'll hold us over. I hope they don't rush the next gen title whenever it comes. I don't want it to be rushed. I want it to be a fully fleshed out game finally. So those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments, and let me know what you guys think. Later.